What's going on, everybody? Welcome and thank you for joining us for anything and everything rock and roll. Of course, a little bit of ADD. Anyway, I'm Zach.
I'm TJ.
And I'm Robin.
And you're listening to Rock Detention.
I don't feel tardy.
What's up, gentlemen? How are we doing today?
Doing good.
Always good. We almost got an entire intro without messing up.
I know.
Right.
Almost there.
Robin, where you been this week? Haven't seen you in a little bit.
I took a vacation. My girl and I celebrated 5 years, so I just checked out. And I needed it.
Wait.
We didn't notice.
I just played Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye on my guitar.
Couldn't hear it.
Oh, well, it was there.
It was there.
It was definitely there. And TJ, what about you? Everything good in your world?
Everything's great, except it's cold and snowy here now, so
Eek.
winter's already here.
Yet you still have no sleeves.
Never.
Very committed to the look. I like it.
Dude, y'all, I can tell you, for everyone listening right now, for all 2,000 people listening, this guy always has no sleeves. Always has no sleeves and is always wearing a bandana. And I salute you, and I respect you, sir.
I think
that's amazing.
Unless it's hockey season, then I'll wear sleeves.
Okay, well, that's understandable. Guys, I have been jumpity all day. Super excited that we have our first guest tonight.
I'm
Mr.
excited.
Christian Brady. Are you excited about that, guys?
Yeah, I am.
I'm pumped.
I've known this guy for about 6 years now. Met him in Vegas, and always a pleasure to know him. And I'm super honored and excited that he wants to come chat with us this evening.
I'm just excited to have someone who is as experienced as he is on the show to just bring. I think we're all. It's going to move the conversation up a level, and I'm excited about that.
I agree, and no one can ever take it away from him that he's the first guest ever on Rock Detention.
Dude, he's number one. We need to get him a T-shirt or something, that commemorates. I'm number one.
That's it. He's peaked. He was the first guest on Rock Detention. You could just hang it up at this point. I'm kidding. Kidding.
Dude, that's... If this thing ever blows up, though, that might be pretty cool.
None of this if stuff.
Yeah, when.
It's like, well, I was the first guest on Rock Detention. We were the first co-hosts on Rock Detention.
That's true.
It's true. It's true. So.
All right.
First production crew, too.
Excuse me?
First production crew, too.
Absolutely. Well, yes, we are doing it all. For those of you watching, we do this all on our own. There is no behind-scenes producers. We all run this from our homes, and I'm very proud of it. So good job to all of you guys.
Thanks.
All righty. Well, we can sit here and gabber all day, but should we just go ahead and get this party started?
Let's just get this party started.
All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Christian Brady.
What's up?
How's it going, sir?
It's good, man. I heard all of that. So, I definitely want a T-shirt. I want Rock Detention #1. First detention given or something like that. You know what I mean?
Not first spanking?
I'm the first to get detention on Rock Detention.
I like it. What have you been up to, brother?
Oh, man. Trying to get through this craziness just like everybody else, the band's kind of obviously like every other band. There's nothing going on right now. There's no touring or anything like that. So we're kind of just taking the time to go, I guess, get through all the stuff that we've been through in the last couple of years. There's been a lot, and we didn't necessarily get the time away to clear our heads and deal with everything that we went through. So we've been doing that. Nothing much going on with the band. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I've been doing a lot of studio work, some session stuff for guitar, but also a lot of mixing, engineering, some producing, working with a band out here doing that and getting more into that world. I've always been involved in that world, and with COVID shutting everything down, it was a good time to really start amping that up and head towards that end of things more. So that's been good. That's a good thing that's come out of it.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, he's a phenomenal producer. He's sent me some of the stuff that he's been working on. And dude, you're excellent at not just guitar, but your production work is phenomenal as well.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. it's always a work in progress, buddy. Always a work in progress.
Well, we'll get there, right?
Yeah, that's right. One foot in front of the other.
Absolutely. That's all we can do. Excuse me for 2 seconds, guys. I got to turn my fan off. I just realized that's the noise y'all are hearing.
Well,
I thought you were going to say you had to pee or something like that.
Oh, no, I did that right before. So,
Oh, okay. All right.
excuse me. 2 seconds. Ask a question, somebody.
Well, that'll actually be a really good transition to bring us all into the subject of what we're talking about tonight, and that is every band or most bands in the world have to go through this. Members come and go, and for whatever reason, they do. And then in the harder cases, there are some that leave us permanently, and it's a difficult thing to process with for anybody anywhere, but especially when you're in a band. It's that's the family you choose. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Like, what is it like for a band when a member leaves, however they choose to leave, and what we go through as artists and band members to move forward and keep marching on, keep making music.
I definitely have a little bit of experience at that, of course. We've all dealt with band members leaving bands throughout our lives, but losing Vinnie the way we lost Vinnie was probably one of the worst moments of my life. And Vinnie was first off, Vinnie was everything Hell Yeah. Like he loved that band. He loved his band. He loved his guys. He loved being on the road. He loved touring. He loved everything about it still, man. He wasn't one of the guys that saw glory at one point and was just like, I still want to play, but my heart's not really, whatever, I'm here. He lived and breathed it, man. And he believed in that band, and he wanted to see it again. You know what I mean? And he wanted us to be able to see it, with him. And, so, when we lost him, man, the bottom kind of fell out. It absolutely fell out. And it's been a long, hard recovery, man. I don't think any of us truly have recovered from it, honestly. Like we were in a position going into doing that record, that ended up being Welcome Home. And it was set up to be a big record for us. It was the third record we'd done with Kevin Churko. The last record had seen quite a bit of success, and so we were looking forward to getting this one done and out and seeing what came from that. And of course, Vinnie had finished his drum tracks and everything, and it was kind of a slow going process. There had been some delays and studio complications and things, but he passed not long after his tracks had been finished, very unexpectedly. So, we had to deal with first and foremost that, and then we didn't have much time, and we had to go back into the studio, because if we didn't go in, we would have lost the time to do it. So we ended up going in and finishing the record, which we knew we had to do because it was his last piece of work. You know what I mean? Like he had we felt like we had to do it, number one, for him and for the fans, because they deserved to hear it, because he had played great on it, and so it was really hard, man. And we went in and finished the record and gave everything we had to it, and then after that, we released the first single, and we put together a memorial tour, and we did 2 legs of that, and we were slotted to do a third leg, although I don't believe we were going to do it as a memorial anymore. We did 2 runs of that, kind of all the A and B markets in the States, and it definitely wasn't ever our intention to milk that. Like, that was the furthest thing from our minds. We just wanted to honor our brother, so we didn't want to keep going back to the well with that either. We were going to do another run and see what happened after that, but COVID hit, so we had to cancel that, and here we are, but honestly, man, trying to move forward without Vinnie has been really tough because of, not only do you lose your band member, but in that case, like Vinny was one of my best friends, man. I mean, he lived in Vegas more than he lived in Texas, and by the last 4 or 5 years, he was always in Vegas, and we were always together, man. We were always hanging together. He was one of my dearest friends, and so not only do you lose your band member and family member, you lose your brother, you lose just everything, and it's been difficult, man. I'm not going to say it hasn't. Roy Mayorga came in from Stone Sour and played drums on those tours, and he's amazing. I love Roy. He knew Vinny very well, and there was a lot of mutual respect and love there. So it made sense. All the guys knew him for years, so it was the right guy to bring in and have do the tours. But that being said, it was just still really difficult because it wasn't our boy. You're used to turning around and looking back and seeing that grin and that, and seeing your boy, and it was just a big part of the band missing because of that, and it's been difficult.
Well, for those of you who don't know too much about Hell Yeah, the band, the Vinnie that he is referring to is the famed Vinnie Paul from Pantera and Damage Plan and Hell Yeah, who is, as a drummer myself, he was one of the first drummers that I grew up on kind of the Beatles and all of that kind of stuff, and so when I ventured into heavy metal and punk rock and that stuff that I didn't get raised on, Vinny was one of the first drummers that someone was like, okay, if you're going to go down this route, you need to listen to this. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I remember the first time hearing Vinny, and I'm just like, I don't think I'll ever hit that hard in my life.
Dude, let me tell you, he hit hard, bro. Like even still, like he was just crushing it, man. I don't know if you know, he played with the butt end of his sticks.
I had heard that.
He used big sticks, and he just, dude, still, like the power that came from behind you when you're on that stage and he was playing behind you is nothing like I've ever felt, man. It was all encompassing, man. It's just this thing that just kind of swallowed you up, and it was amazing. It was really amazing.
And Vinny did I heard he like put quarters or something on his kick drum beaters to get more of a click out of it. $50. Right.
That was back in the Pantera era, early on. Yeah, to get that click, that snap out of the
absolutely.
Out of the
it is
that
very
he was
prevalent.
famous for, that famous sound.
Absolutely. Well, man, I'll tell you, his drum sounds. I blasted. I had to run some errands today, so I blasted "Welcome Home," and please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is all Vinny on "Welcome Home," correct? The whole
whole record, yes.
Dude, I am not filling you with smoke. Those are some of the best drum sounds I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, he's
It was huge.
Well, that all came between him and Kevin, our producer Kevin Churko, who's a genius in the studio, and I was always the guy, to digress, I was always the guy in the studio paying attention to him when we were recording, because I love that world of
I would
that
be
world
too.
as well. But that was him and Vinny getting that drum sound, and I love the drum sound on that record.
It was just massive, and I'm so happy that y'all released that and that he got to be on all the songs. That really makes my heart happy.
I think if he hadn't been on all the songs, it would have been a different story. If he hadn't finished his parts, I don't know that we would have finished that record. But
it was
did,
the pushing. So. It's what pushed y'all.
It's hard.
Thanks,
if you haven't
man.
listened to it, go check it out. Like front to back, like awesome. And
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you go in and re-record anything after the fact? Because it's definitely like you can tell there's a little more emotion. I think playing wise, like it makes it hit harder or something. Or
actually, a lot of stuff on that record. The only stuff that was done were the drums and like your basic tracks, like rhythm guitars and bass. There were 3 songs that were completely done that Vinny heard. I should say like 2.5. Like two were completely finished and one was almost finished, and he heard that. And that was Welcome Home, I'm the One, and Oh My God. And the rest of it, there were no vocals, there were no lead guitars, there were no like any other production besides basic tracks. So we literally had to finish everything. And it was hard, man, because he was a big part of all of that. A lot of people might not know that, but he was so engaged in all of that. He had a great mind for production and parts and writing and all of that stuff. So he was a big part of the whole process. And I mean, me personally, which was an honor that he wanted to be there with me doing that, but that's how he was. He loved it. I'd never tracked a guitar solo without him there. It was always me and him and Kevin, because, you know, when you're in the studio and you're playing, you're in the moment and you're playing, and you don't know if you're. I've never known if I'm getting anything cool or not. You know, you stumble onto some stuff, but you're like, I think that was cool, but it was always like, I'll play some passes and then look back and see if Vinny's like smiling or nodding or what's going on, or he'll be like, yeah, that was cool, man, or yeah, that's getting after it, or you know, stuff like that, all the Vinny-isms, and
I have a
and
question.
then he would build on it. Yeah.
Zach?
Thank you.
Yes, Zach. Yes.
Now, we raise our hand. We're very polite.
We'll get to you in a second, Zach. We'll get to you in a second.
So, would he ever call you out? Like, was everything good? That's good. That's good. Or would he be like, I think you got something better?
Oh yeah, 100%. He didn't blow smoke up anybody's ass. He was like,
I love that.
yeah, and I wouldn't want him to. Like I want, whenever I tracked, I wanted the best that I could get. And sorry, my allergies have been killing me all day. I might have to step away and blow my nose in a minute. I always wanted to get the very best. You know what I mean? So.
God bless.
No, I don't have the COVID.
Oh gosh! Wait a minute. Should we be wearing a mask right now? Because
I know,
we're
right?
closer than 6 feet.
I think we've got the 6 foot thing
I think
settled.
we got it covered.
My face is 2 inches from Christian's on my screen. I'm just saying.
Same here too.
Well, on that sneeze, I totally covered the whole screen with. No, I'm kidding. So, you guys better wipe down.
Absolutely. If you need to blow your nose, man, I can tell a pirate joke or something right quick.
Let me do that real quick. I'll be right back, fellas.
Absolutely.
Be right back.
You got pyro jokes, Zach?
Oh no, I don't. I didn't want him to feel bad for walking away.
I got excited.
Absolutely, dude. That makes me so happy that that Vinny got to finish all of his drum parts for that record. Have you all been blasting it lately?
Yes, literally. I listened to it like 3 times through yesterday, 3 or 4 at least.
Dude,
Because like, Welcome Home is like so melodic and crunchy
dude,
and heavy.
There's like a middle section of like orchestral stuff.
Yep.
It's like, where did that come from?
Right.
So I wrote down some songs like to mention. Dude, 333, the intro track. Breakdown right out of the gate.
Yep. And then
You know
the
what I'm
solo
saying?
too. I got that on my list.
Black Flag Army.
Yes. You can name them all. Actually, I thought it was really beautiful. I was going to ask Christian here about Sky and Water at the end. I'm wondering if that's like a little tribute to Vinny.
Well, we will have to ask him because I did not get to that song today.
Oh, well, sorry.
I wasn't in the car for that long, but oh my God, hits hard.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
And then, dude, I got to talk to Christian about I Don't Care Anymore, the cover they did.
That's a great cover. That's like the first time I really picked up Hell Yeah. Like, it was a few years back, and I heard I Don't Care Anymore. I was like, they covered Phil Collins?
Yeah, right?
I don't
can
care
you hear
anymore.
us?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, shucks. I didn't see you put your ears on. He's back, guys. We got to shh. I'm talking. Do you get everything out okay?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm clear now. Thanks. Yeah.
So I want to
de-snotified.
Ha. I have a question that I've always been curious about, because all the bands that I've ever been in that have had a member leave for whatever reason, it's always, you're in between albums. There's no writing going on really. It's usually in a lull and they decide to leave. You guys hadn't finished everything yet.
Right.
And so And from what it sounds like, as you've said so far, you guys wrote as a unit. It wasn't like, you know, the lead singer brings in the song and then you guys kind of work around what he's already written. You wrote cohesively as a unit. So to come back in and finish an album, how did the writing process change?
So, you know, it's funny you say that. It's actually, for us, it was the other way around. So we would always write, like before we would go in the studio, we would go to Texas, actually to Vinnie's house, and we would set up, he had a Pro Tools rig studio upstairs, and he would set up his drums downstairs. We'd have an engineer come in, and we would demo stuff. We'd come up with ideas and write the tunes and arrange them and get everything musically, just your basic, you know, tracks, just to get the arrangements somewhat there. And then we'd send them to Kevin, and I'm like, hey, check these out, you know, and then the lyrics, the melodies, vocals and lyrics always got written later. So we had done that, and we had sent everything. We actually did it in 2 phases on this last record, because when we got done with touring, we were also tired and burnt and beat up from the Undeniable tour cycle. And so we took a little time off, and we really didn't get together beforehand, and we had studio time booked. So we went into the studio pretty much cold. We had a couple of ideas, some riffs, and we were just like, let's just see what happens. So we just kind of got in the hot seat, like Tom would get in the hot seat and, hey, I got this riff, and start playing some riffs, and we'd all be like, oh yeah, that's really cool, and let's build on that, and okay, let's track that, and we'd track it, and then come up with another part, and then once we got a cohesive kind of track built, then Vinnie would go in and do the drums and play drums to it. And then stuff would change after that. You know what I mean? Like obviously we would get a guide track of what we were writing, and then Vinnie would play, and then we would go in and do it for real, you know. But we kind of built all of that with him and wrote all the songs. And then when the basic stuff was done, we didn't do any solos or big like main coloring or anything on the tracks much until the vocals were done, because you never knew what Chad was going to come up with, and you don't want to step on anything, or maybe even like we didn't necessarily want to put a lot of coloring on it either and lead him in a direction, because he might hear something completely different if there's nothing else there besides a rhythm, you know. And he's really good that way. So like we always kind of want him to have a blank canvas, you know, to write to. So we would finish tracks, and then he'd go in the other room with the track and just sit and write until he had something he was happy with, and he'd bring it to Kevin, and then Kevin would be like, yeah, that's great, or I think that's cool, it could be a little better, or, you know, and they would just work it out until he had something that he was really happy with, and then he would start tracking vocals to the song. And it would kind of go, as we were finishing tunes, he'd be working on one and then working on the next and then trying to play catch up. So he had the most work to do out of all of us when it came down to finishing the record, because he only had 3 tunes pretty much done vocally and one that he had just started. So he still had, you know, 7 more tracks. Well, 6 more, and we ended up writing another track, which was Sky and Water, which ended up being the tribute to Vinnie at the end of the record. So that was kind of the way it worked when we came in. Like, and then once he would finish vocals on a track, then we would, you know, I would come in with Kevin and sit down and listen to a lot of extra production, and Kevin would have ideas and I would have ideas, and then we'd be like, okay, this is going to be a solo here, this is going to be, and sometimes like a bridge that we didn't even love, you know, or and any of that actually happened before Vinnie passed, but there were a couple bridges that I wrote after the fact, because we were like, that doesn't jive, you know, with what's going on, let's rewrite that section, and then we would have to do a rewrite. But we didn't, you know, obviously we didn't really do any of that after the fact when Vinnie had passed, because we couldn't, you know
Right.
what I mean? But everything was pretty well done anyway at that point as far as arrangements. So that's kind of where it was at when we had to go back in and finish. It was a lot of work on Chad, and then we had all the work after he was done to put all the candy and solos and all that stuff on.
Well, y'all did phenomenal.
Yeah. Well,
No matter what the order was, y'all did phenomenal.
Thanks, brother.
And so when you were gone, TJ had asked you. Shoot, the name is slipping my mind. The last song,
Sky and Water.
Sky and Water.
Sky and Water. Thank you. He was wondering if that was a
Yes.
tribute to Vinnie, and it is. Okay, right on.
Beautiful song.
Thanks,
And,
man.
I heard Sky with 2 eyes. Is that because Vinny liked his Sky?
Sky and Water was his drink. So we kind of made it a little play on words. We thought it'd be great to do that and make it a little double entendre.
I like it. There's some lyrics in there too, like "Don't sweat the small stuff, just keep on keeping on." It's like our podcast. It'd be excellent to each other.
He said that all the time, man. That was one of his Vinnyisms, like anytime you're getting stressed out about stuff or whatever, he'd always be like, "Man, don't sweat the small stuff. Just keep on keeping on," And
Yeah.
it's a very Texas thing, right, Zach?
Sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I thought you were going to say, he said, be excellent to each other. I was like, wait, he was a Bill and Ted fan?
No, I don't think I ever heard him say that.
Are you
say a lot of things?
Are you a Bill and Ted fan?
I am.
Good.
I'm looking forward to the second one. Is it out? I can't remember if it's out yet or not.
The third one?
Oh, the third one. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
It came out.
You guys still haven't watched it, probably, right?
I haven't watched it.
Neither have I.
Christian can have a bye, but you two, I've been on you for weeks now.
So Christian, you've also experienced the other side of band members leaving bands. You are not the original guitar player for HELLYEAH. You came into the band.
Correct.
So, and I believe that was in 2016?
14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn it, Wikipedia.
Yeah, damn it, Wikipedia.
They had just finished.
The last couple weeks.
They had just finished recording "Blood for Blood."
Okay.
And when they went to tour that record is when I came in, and Kyle as well. Kyle joined at that time too.
So coming into a band that had already been established, what is that like for you to come in not only to a band that's established, but to a band like HELLYEAH, which is in essence considered a supergroup?
Right.
What's that like stepping into to fill shoes in that one?
It was interesting, man. So I was playing with an artist, which he's actually like a brother to me. We still play together. Well, when we were able to play, we were still playing together all the time. Frankie Perez, and I was playing with him at the time. Yeah, he's incredible. And Vinny, when I met Vinny, several years prior to that, a couple years prior to that, I had told him he asked what I did, and I told him about that band, and we had a residency at the time at the Palms, and he's like, "Oh, cool, I want to come check it out. When are you guys playing?" I'm like, "We're there every Sunday." He goes, "All right, I'll be there," and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever," Vinnie Paul's not coming to my show. Sure as shit, man. That Sunday night rolled around, and him and about 8 people rolled in and saw the show. And literally, if he was in town every week, he was there. And so then they started doing Blood for Blood, and they got rid of they parted ways with Greg Tribbett and Bob Zilla. And it was funny because I was such good friends with Vinny, and I had started to get to know Tommy a little bit. And there was never a point in my mind where I was like, man, I wonder if I could get that gig. I'm gonna try and get that gig. Like, I was doing my thing. I was playing with Frankie. It wasn't even like, it wasn't that at all, And next thing I know, Tommy was coming out with Vinny. They would get done tracking in the studio, and Tommy would come out, and next thing I know, he was showing up every week with Vinny wherever we were playing. And so Tommy and I started becoming good friends and getting to know each other. And so fast forward to February of 2014, and they were getting ready to tour, and my phone rang, and it was Tommy actually who called me. And I guess without me knowing it, the Frankie shows were my audition, and he asked me if I'd be interested in coming and playing with him, and trying it out and see how the fit was. And so it was interesting, man. It was obviously I had grown up as a Pantera fan. I discovered them when I was 16 and saw them several times. I saw them when I was 17 at the Huntridge Theater out here in Vegas, which is a, like a, God, I forget how many people that place held now. Probably 1,000
Where was
people
this?
or so.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember I don't think the Huntridge was. The Huntridge was already defunct by the time you were here.
What part of town was it in?
Downtown area, Charleston and 15th Street.
Okay.
So it's like downtown area, but it was an old movie theater in the 40s, and they converted it into a venue, and I played it a bunch of times.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Saw incredible shows there, and I saw Pantera when I was 17. Dude, they still had chairs in the like the old movie theater chairs in the floor, and then they had the front of the stage area clear. They still had these chairs for people to sit. But when Pantera was finished, there were like groups of areas where the chairs were ripped out, hanging off a bolt out of the concrete. It was nuts, man.
Oh,
Sounds about right.
That's about right. So growing up as a Pantera fan, and it was funny. I had become such good friends with Vinnie that, like, for a minute, like, you almost forget, like, who Vinnie Paul was. Like, he's just this guy that you're bro, and you're hanging out, and you're going to his house for Sunday fun day, and you're hanging out every night, you're drinking, having a good time, and you just become good friends, and you're hanging out. And then I remember going to see HELLYEAH on the Gigantour tour that they did with Megadeth, and that was on the Band of Brothers album. And I walked in, and the band came on, and they started playing, and all of a sudden I was like, right. Like, oh, right, it's Vinnie Paul, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden it was just, everything came, rushing back, and you're like, God, I hadn't seen him play drums in so many years, and he was just so incredible to watch again. And so getting the call for that was pretty incredible, and an honor. And the fact that he the list of people that he's actually been in a band with is a very short list. So to be on that list is complete honor, and I'm grateful for it every day. And I getting to tour the world with him and spend the time I did with him is something I'll cherish for the rest of my life. And Vinnie was an amazing man. He was all the stories you hear are completely true. He was just the coolest dude, heart of gold. He'd do anything for anybody. He took his time for the fans all the time, and he never lost sight of the fact that without the fans, the bands have nothing. You know what I mean? And he never forgot that, man. He was always there for them, and he was just an incredible guy. So getting to join that band was incredible on that aspect. Like, I still had that moment every night at some point on stage. I'd turn around and always walk back to the drum riser and put my foot up, and I knew him and his brother always had that, and I always would walk back and put my foot up and just lock eyes, and we'd groove and have that moment, and it was very special. But there was definitely pressure, of course, coming in. You know what I mean? Like, the first tour I did with those guys, which is the biggest tour I had ever done at that point, was opening for Avenged Sevenfold direct support, Canada and US. It was an 8-week run, and it was literally small arenas, throughout both countries, and it was insane. It was
that's your first, like, welcome to the band is arenas opening for
that was it.
One of the biggest metal bands, newer metal bands.
Yeah. The modern day Iron Maiden, they really are. They're amazing.
Was
that great guys?
Was that with the Rev as the drummer?
No,
it was after him.
Rev had already passed. Yeah.
Who was drumming for them? Was that Mike Portnoy?
No, it was right after Portnoy. It was Aaron. I forget his last name. Aaron. He was in the band for like a minute.
Yeah.
And then he left, and they got the guy they have now.
Okay.
I'm sure whoever was playing was incredible. It's Avenged Sevenfold.
He was great. He was really good. It wasn't Portnoy, but
I don't want to rewind too much, but I do have a question. So there was a time that you had not seen Vinnie for a long time. You saw him back in Pantera days, and then you saw him with HELLYEAH, and you were like, oh shit, like, that's Were you in the band at that time, or was this before the band?
It was before I was in the band. It was on the Gigantour. They came to town. That was with Megadeth, and it was at the Mandalay Bay Arena.
Wow.
And you know, we were talking. He's like, "Hey man, yeah, we're playing here on blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm there. I would love to." So he, you know, he set me up, and we went to the show and walked in, and they came on, and I was like, "Oh my God, right? I almost forgot he was this
Dude,
Vinnie Paul." You know what I mean? And
He has a presence, man. You know,
he
I think
did, man.
thanks to you, you know, I was able to meet him, you know, several times in Vegas, and like you said about all the positive stories, it was so refreshing. The 10 or 15 times I ran into him, he always took pictures with the fans, signed autographs, hung out, you know. I mean, even when we'd go to Vamped, which for those of you watching who don't know, Vamped is probably my favorite rock venue in Las Vegas.
One of the coolest in the country, man.
Absolutely. And the owners are freaking phenomenal. Love them to death. Even when he would come to Vamped, there is a dedicated VIP section, but Vinny was never in there. He
Nope.
had his table right in front of the sound booth. You could walk up to him and say hey to him, and he had no problem with it. And I always loved that about him.
Yeah, man. He always wanted to sit where it sounded best. So that was
Well-
right in front of the sound booth. He was such a music fan still. Like, he was out every night, and he would go see bands, and he would go see shows or whatever. He hated being home. He hated sitting around doing like nothing. He wasn't that
Sure.
guy. He was out every night, and that was how he lived his life, you know.
Amen. Well, that's not a bad way to live it.
No.
Man.
He definitely lived his life on his terms, man.
It's the best
you
way
know,
to
there's
do it.
definitely something to be said for that. That's the way to
Uh,
do it.
Well, when you're Vinnie Paul, the only way to live life is to live it that way. It's just that way that he wanted to do it. Because I never got to meet him, but every single person that I've talked to, you two and several others that have been in that scene, they all said that it's like Vinny was one of those guys that he's always Vinnie Paul. Like, he's never like, if he's alone with you, he's one way. If he's in a group of people, he's one way. You know, if he's in the studio, he's one way. Everybody just said, nope, you just get Vinny. That's it.
Yeah, Vinny was just Vinny, man. He didn't put on a show for anybody. I mean, he didn't put on a show for anybody. He just was a show. He was just Vinnie Paul. You know what I mean? That's just who he was, and he was always him. He was just, that's who you got, and it was amazing. He was an amazing guy, you know, and we all miss him a lot. You know, I miss him every day. And you know, I'd like to think, I don't know what happens to us after we leave this place, but I'd like to think he's rocking with his brother again, and he, you know, seeing his mom again, and you know, they lost their mom early on, and so and I'd like to think that they're hanging with Eddie Van Halen now. Man, you know,
I was
like,
just thinking that.
It's like heaven just got a lot louder.
dude, the band up there is ridiculous right now. Seriously.
Who's opening for who? I mean, it's all the biggest names,
geez.
right?
I think it's just a big jam session, man. That's
Yeah.
you know, I feel like I'm John C. Riley in Talladega Nights right now. Oh, I like to picture my Jesus, you know, my baby Jesus, like as a little baby with wings, and that's how I picture heaven, man. It's a big giant jam session with all
Absolutely.
the greatest cats playing.
I'm up front with Leonard Skinner, front row,
Yeah,
hammered drunk.
yeah.
I got a tuxedo shirt on.
I love it.
Classy, but I want to party.
Well,
Hey, I heard you guys on the when I came back in the room, you were talking about I Don't Care Anymore, right?
Yeah.
as a matter
Yeah,
of
yeah.
fact, yes,
Um,
Yes.
There's a really cool story about that if you guys want to hear it.
Fire away.
So that song, which to me is I love that song, dude. Like the early Phil Collins stuff, he was on fire, man. He was incredible. And that song in particular, like his vocal performance on that song to me is one of the best vocal performances recorded, man. Like it's the emotion in that, and when he's going for it at the end, and the emotion in his voice, and you can hear it's on the verge of like breaking and cracking, and he's just putting it all out there, and it's just makes the hair stand up. And yes, exactly.
For a split second, I thought that was a spiral notebook, and I thought that was like your notebook.
No.
Okay.
It's
I'm taking notes.
no, it's the hello, I must be going.
Amazing record.
Great
man.
album title too.
Yes. And so I always wanted to do a cover of that song. I always thought it would be cool to do it. And we were in the studio with, it was me and Vinnie and Kevin, and I was tracking some solos and stuff that day. And we had been throwing around the idea of doing a cover. And there had been some songs thrown around, but none of them were, it was like, eh. And none of us wanted to do a cover just for the sake of doing a cover. It was like, we talked about it. If the right one popped up, maybe we would do one. It would be kind of cool. And so we had been talking about it that day, and I go to Kevin. I go, man, I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for this, but I've always wanted to cover I Don't Care Anymore. And he kind of stopped for a second, and then he turned around and he goes, Phil Collins? And I go, yeah, man. I go, that song's incredible. And he goes, that is a great song, man. He goes, and I don't ever think I've heard anybody really cover that, and it's not a metal song, so you could really do a different version of that. And I felt lyrically like Chad could probably relate to the lyrics and get some emotion behind it. So anyway, we're talking about that, and Vinny starts laughing behind us, and so we both turn around and we're like, what, you hate the idea, right? You hate that song, it's terrible, right? And Vinny goes, no. He goes, I'll do you one better. Because me and my brother recorded that like 14 years ago, and we never did anything with it. He goes, I completely forgot about it up until now, man. He goes, hang on a second. And he texts his engineer friend Sterling in Texas, the guy that always does our demo stuff. And 5 minutes later, we had the mix of that instrumental, no vocals on it.
Yeah.
Listening in Kevin's studio, and it was Dime and Vinny, and it was like, whoa.
Now
this is incredible.
Now Dimebag is on the recording, right? That y'all released?
He is on the recording. So we were able to get it took a bit of work. It was really hard to get the tracks because they were done on our old Radar system, and I don't know if you know what Radar is, but it was kind of like VHS and Betamax, like Pro Tools and Radar, and Pro Tools just took over, and Radar kind of fell away.
Mm-hmm.
So they had done it on a Radar system, and we had to find a way to pull the tracks off of that system. And the only way to access it, you had to have a special keyboard, and we had to hunt everywhere to find this keyboard. But we were able to get the tracks, and we didn't even know what was there. We knew there were rhythms because on the version that we listened to, there was no lead stuff whatsoever. So we thought maybe it was just like rhythms. And when we got the tracks, there was a bunch of lead stuff as well. So basically, Tom had gone back to Baltimore at that point. I think he played the bridge, and I played the bridge section as well. And then the rest of the guitars on it, other than Dime stuff, I played. I did all the clean stuff. I did extra rhythm stuff. So basically, I got to jam with Dime in the studio. You know what I mean? Like, we pulled these tracks up, and I'm hearing these isolated tracks, and I got to play with those tracks. And it was like the most incredible experience to hear these tracks like that, man. It was like, it was a career moment for me, man. It was just such an honor to get to do that. But all that lead stuff in the track was actually there. We found all these tracks, and we're like, what's this? Whoa. And we ended up putting all this lead stuff in the track. It was Dime playing it. And I had actually tracked a ton of stuff. Like, I had tracked a bunch of lead stuff, all kinds of stuff, because we didn't know yet what we had. We didn't have all of the tracks yet. And then it turned out we had a lot of lead stuff from him. So all the lead stuff on there is him. And it was nuts. So basically, we got to do this song, and none of us had any idea that these existed. Like, Vinny had completely forgotten about the fact that they had even done that. Kevin didn't know. I didn't know. None of the band members knew. And of all the songs in the world I could have spit out to want to cover, I say that song, and it ends up that we got Dimebag on the recording. It's incredible, man. It was like a little gift. It was like, oh yeah, here, remember that? There you go. You know, and
we'll get to you in a second.
It was amazing. It really was special, man. It was a really special moment.
We'll get to you in a second, Zach.
Thank you. Okay, So I remember when all this went down. I remember you telling me in person and being absolutely awestruck. But now, not hearing that story and hearing it again years later, still made my eyes water. First of all, that's unbelievable. Second of all,
It still made my hair stand up.
exactly, dude. When you were in the studio and you're playing your tracks, you're in your headphones. You're playing along with Dimebag, his isolated tracks, as if he's in the room next to you.
Oh, with Vinny's drums. Yeah, correct.
Wow.
It's crazy, dude.
That's unreal.
And I'll tell you the most special moment about it. And like that's all incredible. And jamming to that and hearing Dime and all of that is incredible. But the most special moment for me about doing that song was when it was finished and Kevin called and said, "You guys got to come hear it." And Vinny and I were the only ones in town at the moment. Everybody had gone home. So I went to the studio with Vinny. We went together, and he sat in the captain's chair, of course, and I sat in the chair behind the table right behind him. And I listened to the track, and I watched him. And to see his reaction and the smile that it put on his face to hear his brother like that again, and to be able to do a track with his brother again like that, that was the most special moment for me. Just seeing him smile was incredible, man.
Dude, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
incredible.
beautiful. And how cool that Dime makes it onto a big song from the grave. I mean, that's badass.
Yeah.
Something that nobody had ever heard, man. It was something else, man.
I love it.
That makes that song that much better. Like it was already a good cover, but now it's 10 times better, 1,000 times.
Right on, man.
Who played
Glad you guys
acoustic?
dug it.
Who
What's
did the
that?
acoustic on that? The acoustic.
God, I'm trying to remember now. I think Tom and I both did acoustic stuff on that.
Because I thought it was really cool. I even made a note about it. That it's actually acoustics like chugging away on drop D in the verses. There's no distortion. It's
Right,
the acoustic.
correct.
And I thought that was awesome. It was a very good mix of not hardcore and then in the choruses bringing it in with full production and distortion, and I thought it was a very well laid out cover.
Right on, man. Well, you're talking about the second version of it, right?
I'm
'Cause
talking
there's an
about
there's
whatever
an
came up
acoustic.
on my Pandora today.
Well, I think there's the full version, which has got a bunch of weird, like I used some weird effects on the verse to get those chords that sound really delayed and ethereal and kind of.
I feel like a fool. There's two versions, isn't there? There's an acoustic version.
There's an acoustic version too. Yeah.
That's what I heard today.
Okay, so you got to listen to the full
Yeah.
version then, because
Well, I've heard the full version. I
Yeah.
back when it came out.
Right.
And I feel like a fool. Please don't hate on me in the comments.
no, not at all, man.
Oh, they are ripping you a new one.
Speaking of Robin, do we have? Have we had any comments? And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to chime in.
Yeah, if you've got questions, shoot them over. But no, we haven't. We've just gotten a bunch of this and heart emojis and people just saying that this is a great episode. They're really enjoying it. A lot of compliments.
And he
So-
just
Right
likes
on,
it.
man.
And we have our most thumbs up 3.
Oh.
We have 3 thumbs up.
3 thumbs up, no thumbs down.
Wait a minute. I hope we at least get one hater.
Nah.
That's what I'm saying. Then we know we're doing it right.
Hey Christian, we had our first thumbs down like 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Oh, all right.
Isn't that when you know you're successful?
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
get a hater.
Someone
Yeah,
likes
you
it.
get a hater.
I just love that we got a thumbs down, and not even like 10 seconds later, somebody in the comments goes, "Wait, did someone dislike this? Oh, I'm gonna have to start a fight."
That's awesome.
I'm like, yes, we've got
I
fans
wish
that
they
want to
had
fight
like
people.
I wish they had like a sideways thumb. Like it's kind of cool. Like
It
I'm
could be better.
on the
It could be
fence.
better.
Well, dude, I could talk to you all day, and I definitely want to have you back on with a gear day, because I know you're a big gearhead like I am.
Absolutely, man.
But do y'all want to kind of not move on, but talk about other bands, bring up other bands that have moved on past. Remember, y'all look at me like I'm crazy.
What are you talking about, Zach? What are you talking? We didn't spend like 10 or 15 minutes before the show talking about this at all.
Christian, I swear they love me. They really do.
No, it was actually interesting. You were listing off some bands that I didn't know had actually had members pass. I thought just members had left. Like, you listed Kiss, and I was like, I knew that, 2 drummers left. I didn't know that one of them died, but I knew that one of them...
Should we fact check that real quick before we start saying someone's dead?
Yeah, I don't know. You all brought up Kiss, so I knew that Peter Criss left.
Eric Carr.
Yeah.
CARR.
But yeah, there was, man, when I was doing a little bit of research on this, it was pretty interesting to go through and see all these bands of like, wow, they did have, people leave the band. Oh, I thought they were the original lineup, and then to look at bands, you have a band like, we were laughing about it earlier, but who brought up Destiny's Child with Beyonce leaving?
It wasn't me.
It was Zach.
Definitely wasn't me.
It was Zach.
But to watch a band like that, you see Beyonce leave the band, and it's over. That band's just gone. And to see a band just disappear when one of the members goes on to a solo career or leaves or whatever. And then you see a band like Pink Floyd, when Syd Barrett leaves, just how drastically a band shifts in writing. When it shifted over to Roger Waters being the primary guy coming in with stuff. So
it's definitely interesting when it's that kind of situation, like, because Sid was the main writer back then, and obviously Roger had a lot to say and was a brilliant writer in his own right, but he didn't get that chance to do that until Sid was gone, and then Pink Floyd became what Pink Floyd became.
Right.
So it's pretty crazy. Although I think Gilmour probably had a bit to do with that stuff too, you know.
Of course.
And musically, I think they all had stuff to do with it, Richard Wright sang a lot on that stuff early on too, man, and he was great. He was a fantastic voice, but I digress. I think another prime example is Van Halen, man. Like, you lose David Lee Roth, who leaves to do his solo thing, and Dave's managed to find a way to become bigger, and that doesn't happen very often. Like, they get Sammy Hagar, and they had their first #1 record, and every record after that went #1, when it like debuted at #1. Yeah. So that's insane, and it did take on a little bit of a different. It was still obviously Eddie and Alex, but Eddie always had that kind of that pop sensibility in his writing. He always had that kind of set him apart from everybody else. He was this amazing guitar player. I mean, he's probably one of the best ever in my eyes, you know what I mean? But he also had the writing, which a lot of guys, they can play amazingly, but they don't. He could write. He could write a song, and it went from like the Dave era, which was like this amazing rock and roll party, good time band. Like, I think about being at house parties and Van Halen cranking, and and then it went to this hit making machine with Sammy Hagar, and they even went further into that pop world with Sammy, and it's a pretty amazing thing to be able to do that.
Yeah.
AC/DC too.
Yeah.
Wait, hold up. Time out on the playing field.
Yeah.
Before we move to AC/DC, I have a question about Van Halen. Curious, Christian. What are your thoughts? Obviously, with time to heal, do you think it would be wrong? I'm not going to say what you think I'm going to say. So no, I'm not going there. But do you think there should be or would ever be some sort of tribute like a Randy Rhoads Remembered, where like you have all the big cats, like a Steve Vai and Zach Wilde, yada yada yada. You have all these cats get up and do a song with the band. Do you think, man, that is respectable, or do you think Van Halen is done forever?
I mean, obviously Van Halen, as we know it, has done forever.
Of course.
And whether or not Alex and Dave and Michael would be a part of that or not, I don't know. I can't speak to that. You know what I mean? It's too early to
Sure.
even really talk
And
about
I feel
that,
bad
but
for asking it, but we were on the conversation.
I think it could be a really cool thing to do it as if it's billed as a tribute and done right. I think that would be amazing. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
cool.
And I think there's a lot of guitar players that would love to be involved in that. I know me for one would love to be involved in something like that. And
Sure.
Eddie. I mean, I know you guys did an episode a couple weeks ago that was pretty much all about Eddie, right? So
Yeah.
I don't want to make it about Van Halen, and plus, honestly, it's still really hard for me to talk about. Man, I still get choked up about it, and
Sure.
Eddie was a big one for me, man. Eddie's the reason I do what I do today. I saw them when I was 15 years old, front row, right in front of Eddie, and that was the moment I decided I wanted to do this for the rest of my life. So he was a big one for me, and to think that we live in a world without Eddie Van Halen in it is really, really weird and really hard and sucks. It's he was an inspiration for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
You
Of
know,
course.
so he literally there's guys that are amazing players and they did a lot for guitar and for music, but he's one of the few that, and you can pretty much count those guys on one hand, but he's one of the few that literally changed the way the guitar is played.
Yeah.
Like, literally changed guitar forever. You know.
And I would go out on a limb and probably put money on it that Van Halen was probably a hero to a lot of other guitar players that are up in that echelon of playing that you're referring to.
100%, man.
Yeah.
I think that's evident just by all the outpouring of love and posts for Eddie since his passing. Like, he influenced everybody, man.
Yeah.
Everybody that was around back then, nobody was playing like that. Everybody heard him and went, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, oh, it literally changed the way people looked at the guitar. They went, "Oh God, what's he doing?" You know, like, it blew people's minds, man.
I need to go home and practice.
Sure.
Seriously, like, you know, like that was the bar. Like, all of a sudden the bar was here. Like, that was.
Oh,
That was it.
I bet there were older guys that were just like, they
course.
saw him playing. There's this 18-year-old drummer in New York that I came across on Instagram, and that was my first thought, was like, shit, I need to go home and practice. This kid is playing circles around me.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And for me, it's, it's so funny because I know so many guys who would see this young upstart person and get, like, annoyed. They're like, well, he hasn't put in his dues yet. And I see it, and probably much the way you probably see it when you see a young kid who's 18 years old, and it's not someone playing fancy shit. They're actually grooving and playing their instrument, that they're mastery at their instrument at that young. You're just like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
You know, I've never been that guy, man. Like, I love seeing great guitar players. Like, I love seeing, like, even people that you've never heard of. If I go to see a band play and the guitar player is great, I'm the first dude that's throwing horns and yelling and go find him after the show and be like, bro, you were awesome, dude. Like, I love that. To me, it's inspiring. You know what I mean? Like, I was never the guy that's like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never understood that mentality, man. Like,
Yeah.
everybody, I don't care how good you are, there's somebody better. There's somebody better that's going to
Always.
play circles around you, man. And I think you should always look at something as an inspiration, and I look for that everywhere, man. I mean, there's so many dudes in the world that play circles around anything I've ever done, and I've just always tried to keep that in mind, and I've always tried to support anybody and everybody out there doing it, man, because it's so hard as it is. It's one of the hardest businesses to be involved in, man. And I think the only way is to support each other.
Yeah.
You know?
We have to.
We have to.
And one more thing, guys. By the way, yes, Eric Carr, and also just recently, back in May, I believe, Bob Kulick, the guitarist.
Oh yeah, Bob Kulick. That's right.
Just had to set that straight. I don't want any haters in the comments.
What are
saying
we
missed
setting
something.
straight? I'm totally like blanking on what you're talking about.
The
Oh.
Kiss.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
thought, but I was like, did we mention something else here? But yeah, you brought up AC/DC. Do you know, Christian? Because I told these guys a few episodes ago. Do you know where the original lead singer Bon Scott died?
The exact location.
Yeah, like the city that he died in.
The
Uh,
GPS coordinates.
The exact coordinates.
I don't remember. Honestly, no.
Austin, Texas.
It was
Wow.
Austin, Texas. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember you telling me that.
Yeah, it was a few episodes ago. It was the odd, like I picked up, someone wrote a biography of him, and so I picked it up at Barnes and Nobles and was reading the back of it, and it was like, the life of Bon Scott through his grade school years and talking about this all the way to his death in Austin, Texas, and I'm going, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I never knew that. That's crazy. I
Now
did
you
not
know.
that.
Now you know,
More you know.
and
And the more you know.
yep. I need that little GIF. I can put that up.
Yeah, with the star, with the.
But that's an interesting, like their Back in Black album. It's like
Dude,
First one with Brian
prime
Johnson.
example, man. Like,
Yeah.
you got Bon Scott, who's incredible. Like, unbelievable frontman, killer voice, personality, just all of it, larger than life. AC/DC, unbelievable band, and he dies. And they get Brian Johnson and put out Back in Black, and it's their biggest record. Like
yeah.
it's crazy to think about that. You know what I mean? And he's incredible in his own right. So, it's there's a few instances that happened, and it's nuts when things like that work out.
Well, yeah, and now they've got with Malcolm gone.
Right.
So I was watching a real recent video of them. Well, recent after Malcolm passed, or actually he had left the band previous to that for health reasons. He wasn't touring with them, and I thought he still was in the videos because his nephew, who plays guitar for them now, looks just like him.
Looks just like him, right?
And it's like someone goes, "Oh no, that's their nephew." It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, dang. Have you heard their new single?
I have. It's killer.
Yeah.
I thought Brian sounded great on it, man. I'm really excited that he was able to do the record and they figured out his whatever he was working with somebody, and it was a several year process to be able to get his ears back to being able to hear right, but they made it work so that he could sing again and hear, and he was having trouble hearing pitch, because he was going deaf basically
Yeah.
from too many years of loud music,
Yeah.
and
In-ears.
so I'm so excited to hear. Once I heard that single, I was like, oh man, this is great.
Yeah.
And, that the stuff that they're doing on this record, I believe, if I read it correctly, is stuff that Malcolm had been involved in writing.
Okay, I hadn't really read anything on the record yet, so
I believe that's the case. Obviously, Zach, if you want to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that Malcolm was involved in.
When did I turn into the secretary?
In the right. Well, you kind of deemed yourself
yeah.
that when you.
Hold on, I'm
started
gonna fact check
checking,
this.
bro.
Wait, real quick. Thanks to you, Christian. Thanks to you being sick. I don't wish sickness upon anybody, but because Christian was sick, I got to go see AC/DC. So
Yes, that's right.
I'm
right.
sorry that you were sick, but I got to take his ticket. Thank you.
That's
And,
okay. I saw AC/DC in Brisbane, Australia, on the Razor's Edge tour, so that's okay. I'll settle for that.
Well, but see, you got to let a fellow rocker experience something that he never got to experience. So
there
bless
you go, man.
Did they
There
have
you go.
Zach? Did they have the train that when you saw him, the train, like the whole full locomotive that enters the?
I don't
stage?
remember train, but they did have the
you
huge
remember it.
cannons
Okay.
that come out
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
fire ridiculously loud explosions.
So, we've got a good question in the comments here, and from someone named Jake Cross, and he's
Hello,
asked
Jake.
he's asked a question, and I'm gonna ask his, and then I'm gonna augment it a little bit to the topic that we're talking about. But I do think he's got a really good question, which is, how do you all stay musically inspired during such times as COVID, like this?
That's a great question. That's a great question. You said you wanted to morph that?
I was gonna morph it and ask someone like you, Christian, who is in the band that you're in and the situation you're in, which is how have you stayed musically inspired after Vinny's passing?
Right. That's a tough double question. Good question, Jake. So I'm not gonna lie. After Vinny's passing, to be inspired, at least for Hell Yeah and writing Hell Yeah, it's been difficult. I can honestly say we haven't, as a band, written anything since we finished the record. Like that would be Hell Yeah. Like as a band, we have not written anything yet. You know, the thought of going back in the studio and doing that and doing another record is pretty daunting, man, because it'd be the first one that we truly did without Vinny. So it's a little scary and a little, you know, I don't know what the future holds as far as that goes for us, but you know, as far as this COVID thing goes, man, it's been up and down, honestly, for me. Like I've had some friends reach out for guitar tracks on some things, and you know, a lot of people have managed to stay creative during this whole time, and I've had my moments, of course, but there were also moments in me where there was nothing. Like I had a friend of mine reach out, and he had written a song. It was an instrumental, and he had written rhythm guitars and bass and drums and played them all, and super talented dude. And he thought of me when he wrote the tune. He thought it'd be fun, you know, for me to be involved with it. And he just kind of gave me carte blanche to write like lead guitar stuff to it. And so I was like, oh, that's awesome. And it took me like 2 months to finish it because I could not get my head there, you know. And I think it was it was starting to really affect me, like this whole shutdown and not being able to play and tour, and you know, at the time when we were locked down, and you know, you weren't like going out and you weren't seeing your friends and you weren't having your normal lives, and I think it really took a toll on a lot of people. I know it took a toll on me, and in order to get my head in that place, it took a minute, man, and I finally got something I was happy with, because I didn't want to just spit something out either, you know what I mean? Like if I'm going to play on something, I'm going to put the effort in and try to make it as good as I can. I don't ever want to just be like, oh, I'll just put a solo on it and here you go. Like, you know, I don't like to half-ass anything. So it took a minute to really get my head there, and I've had my moments off and on of creativity. I've written some stuff, and I'm thinking about maybe starting to record some of that stuff and getting some ideas down and see what comes out of it. But yeah, it's been a challenge. It's definitely been a challenge throughout this whole lockdown to try and stay creative and inspired, because there's a lot of uninspiring events going on in our world right now, you know.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on, and it'll really affect you if you let it.
Yeah,
you know.
It's you know, I just finished tracking a new single, and so like to go back into the studio for the first time, and for me, over a year, it's like it kind of knocks you in the head a little bit, because you sit there and for me, it wasn't the day of the studio, it was a few days before, because we tracked everything in one day, and so I had to go in knowing everything so we could just chop and get through it, and to sit there and like start working out, okay, how do I want the solo to be written out because it's harmonized guitars, and to sit there and start like going through stuff, and my brain's just going, no, that's shit. Nope, that's shit. Nope, that's not working. And to have to like walk away and come back, and and going to like, no, am I playing that chord right? No, I don't really like this bass lick, and it feels weird. And then you get into the studio and you start recording it, and I don't know. For me, there was just this. My producer was an amazing at getting me to just relax and let go and just get into the music and really just play it again. And so it was really, really relieving to get through that whole day and then go, okay. It like unlocked a kind of a creativity thing for me, and it's like, okay, okay, I'm through this stupid slump of stuff. So, but yeah,
it's once you get past that first hurdle, man. That's what it was for me on doing that track for my friend. It was like I had to get my brain in the mode. You know what I mean? And once I finally got something I liked, I went, okay, I'm happy with that. Then it started flowing, and it started being easier to get my head in the game and right. So yeah, it's totally that. You got to get past the first hurdle to get in that zone, you know, because getting in that zone is tough enough as it is sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, but sometimes it just happens like that. Sometimes you got to fight for it.
Yeah. Now, Zach,
So,
I know you just did had a song that you played on a new single.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Dude, y'all said zone so many times in the last 3 sentences. I couldn't stop thinking about AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. That's why I was smiling. Y'all are over here talking about the zone. And anyway, yeah. Jake from State Farm. That's his name, right? That's who asked the question.
Jake, yes, Jake Cross.
Jake Cross.
The question was, how do we stay
musically inspired?
Musically inspired. Well, dude, I am all about honesty, and I'm not gonna lie. I'd say the first month or two of COVID, the lockdown, whatever you want to call this thing, there was a lot of Netflix happening. You know, it was. I think we all did. Am I lying?
I think it's still
Christian's like, no, I've been bettering myself every day.
No,
Maybe.
there's a lot of Netflix that happened.
Right on. So I went through a little slump, as I think we all did, and then finally something changed. Something happened. I don't remember the exact event that changed it, but I got a little fire under my arse, and I started working on my original stuff as well, because you know everyone kind of knows me as the hired gun. I usually play on people's shows, but I started working on my own stuff, and so yeah, I actually just finished 2 singles and working on the 3rd as we speak. So I'm hoping to come out with a little 4 or 5 song EP by the end of this, whatever this is called.
Show off. I'm kidding.
Show off.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
kidding.
awesome, man.
No,
Can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, me either. I'm super excited because I'm excited because this is you being a singer-songwriter.
Yes.
And I've been hearing you be a guitar player. So I'm excited, as someone who's been a singer-songwriter, I'm excited to hear you do this.
Well, thank you.
And
likewise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It makes 3 of us.
Well, bless all of you. It's definitely also people kind of know me as the metalhead, especially like the 80s. I've kind of, that's what I'm into. I love it. But the stuff that I write is nowhere near it. I'd say it's a mixture of, you know, it's pop R&B. It's kind of Jason Mraz meets Ed Sheeran meets Jamie Foxx. A lot of people don't know that Jamie Foxx is also a phenomenal musician, unbelievable piano player, and sings his ass off. I think he played Ray in the Ray Charles movie, right?
He did.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Have you seen that one, Christian?
Yes, I have.
I think he's doing all the vocals for
I think
in that movie.
He did sing. Yeah, he did sing in that.
TJ, how do you stay inspired during the COVID? I feel like you've been a little quiet today. Hi, TJ.
I'm focused on Christian. I'm listening to all the fun stories. I just listen to music. Like, I missed live shows so much. I'm sure we all do. But just listening to music and just finding new stuff to listen to that you haven't listened to before or something, like, keeps you going, or bringing back old records or something you haven't listened to in a while. Like, it's fun to dig into that. And you're like, I forgot about this song.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful, the world that we live in, the musical world that we live in, because, you know, we may have moments where we're very uninspired to create music, but we can go get inspired by music. We can go listen to other stuff and, get inspired. So we can be inspired by the art that we create, and the art, like, our world is both sides of it. It's our, it's our creativity and it's our medicine at the same time. So it's
yeah, true. That's true. It's healing as well. So you get to hopefully get in that zone.
Auto zone. Yeah.
And make something cool happen, and while you're doing that, you're also kind of getting a little healing out of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Actual healing. Oh, different song.
Dude.
Hey, whatever works for you.
Hey, that's good healing too, man.
Yeah.
But,
I am not endorsed by AutoZone, just so y'all know.
How about the Danger Zone?
I am not endorsed by Whataburger, but you can endorse me if you want.
Oh my lord, have mercy.
man, their jalapeno cheese biscuits are phenomenal.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That's not
Jalapeno
Whataburger.
cheddar biscuits. Hello.
No, that's not Whataburger.
Yeah, it sure is.
Okay, Robin, who is a Whataburger expert,
I don't know this one.
I
would not be surprised if they have it though, because I also just learned that Subway has pizza, and my mind is blown. So.
Oh, dude, they've had pizza for years.
I didn't know
man.
that though.
Go to a truck stop.
But yeah, I mean, like.
So Vinnie was a big Whataburger fan, and so like late nights after drinking and stuff, we would end up with a bunch of Whataburger back at the house sometimes in Texas, and I would always have him get me the breakfast sandwiches with the sausage, egg, and cheese on the jalapeno cheddar biscuits.
Maybe this was like a special thing they did just for Vinnie.
Nope.
This is Are you looking it up, Robin?
No, I'm responding to a comment.
I promise you they exist,
Yeah.
and it is a normal breakfast menu item. They are fantastic.
Okay.
They're a Texas chain, and us Texans love our jalapenos, so
Yep.
I'm not surprised.
Okay, wait, was it jalapenos on a biscuit, or was it jalapenos in a biscuit?
In the biscuit.
Like the
Like
cheese
in the batter.
the cheese and jalapenos mixed in the batter and the biscuits cooked. Yes, they're fantastic.
You ever had the biscuits from Red Lobster?
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Nope.
God. You ain't ever had them.
Never been to a Red Lobster in my life.
What is
Okay,
wrong?
well, you're not missing much, but them biscuits,
biscuits,
are great.
yeah. All
Dude,
day.
I actually have a box of the Red Lobster biscuit mix in my cupboard, and the last time I made their biscuits, I made them with jalapenos and cheddar cheese.
Good.
There you go.
I'm
That
on
is
my
you.
way.
You are a good man.
That's the way to do it.
Christian is a phenomenal cook, dudes.
I dabble.
Hey,
dabble.
No.
when we're all
Your mac and cheese is off the chain.
in Vegas, we're gonna have to experience Vegas, but we're also gonna have to experience this cooking. So
Hell yeah. Come to the house. I'll make a meal for you.
we'll do it.
And Christian, you got to come to Texas, brother.
I know. It's got to happen soon, man. I got to get out there.
Yeah, because we've been talking about doing like on location podcast stuff. So when we come to Vegas, we should just do a on location. The four of us just sit down and talk again. We can nerd out on guitar
Mac
gear and
and
whatnot.
cheese?
Yeah, and mac and cheese and cooking.
That would be fun, man.
Jalapenos.
So and jalapenos.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I feel like we should at least pay homage to a few of the bands that we didn't get to tonight before we wrap it up.
I got a little hidden gem.
Awesome. Say all of yours, because I've got. Dude,
all right.
Look at all this homework I did, y'all.
Well, I had a bunch that like left, but one I got that band member passed away. Andrew Wood from Mother Love Bone used to be the lead singer.
Yep.
It was basically Pearl Jam before Pearl Jam, and they formed Temple of the Dog after, and then next was Pearl Jam after Chris Cornell left, because it was like a little tribute album, Temple of the Dog. So that one's on the list. Leonard Skinner, another one.
That was on mine.
I
I think I had a fun fact. Let's see here.
And Ozzy, of course, losing Randy Rhoads.
Yeah.
Well, and then like Metallica.
Yep.
Yes.
Cliff
Def
Burton.
Leppard with Steve Clark.
I have a question about Metallica, boys.
Get at it.
Okay. They are saying that their most from the source that I got this from, they're saying the most famous album was Master of Puppets. Agree, disagree?
I would say
their best album. I think so.
I didn't say the best. I said most famous.
I would say it has their most famous song on that album. Wait,
I'm
no,
gonna-
don't, no, I'm wrong. I'm completely wrong on that.
Okay, 1985.
Shut up.
I'm gonna
1985 is
disagree.
a great album.
I'm gonna disagree. I think their biggest album is probably the Black Album.
That's the one I'm
Okay,
thinking
I
of.
can go with that.
That's what I'm saying. I
But as
think
far
that
as
is the
favorite
most
album,
famous.
I got to go Master of Puppets, man. I think that record is. If you're a metalhead, man, that record is incredible. It's a blueprint for a metal album, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's the production's great, the guitar tones are great, James' voice is killer, and the songs are awesome, man. It's a
Definitely.
great
Now,
record.
who all is on? Because I will say I love Metallica, but I haven't been like the biggest fan. I haven't done the deep dive into their catalogs and whatnot.
Right.
What's the lineup for that album?
That's the original lineup.
It's the original-
Cliff Burton
okay.
played bass on it. Kirk Hammett, James Hetfield, Lars Ulrich. So, but it was Cliff Burton.
Right
So
on.
yeah, that's a great record, man. It's a good one.
Cool.
What you got another fun fact, Zachy?
I'm reading. I'm telling you guys, I have not written this much in probably 10 years. I'm 2 full pages because I didn't want to look like a dang Steven Glansberg sitting alone at the dang table.
Well,
Let's see here.
while you're finding your little, did you find your little thing yet?
No.
I had
I didn't find my little thing.
I had a comment.
Find your little thing.
Having trouble there? I wanted to throw one at you, Christian. It's not a question. It's a comment from a user, and it says it's from a guy named Brian Sanchez, and he said, "Hell yeah's music has been there for me through the rough times in my life," and he just wants to say thanks.
Wow.
Oh, that's
So-
awesome, Brian. Thanks, man. That means a lot. You know, anytime we get that, it's always pretty incredible, and I think that's a testament to Chad's lyrics as well. He's always been really good at relating to, like he writes from a lot of personal places, and I think that's, you know, he's not afraid to put stuff out there, and his hope is that it will help people get through things they're going through. So I think that's, whenever somebody says that, it's always a really special thing, and thanks, Brian. Appreciate the support, man. That's awesome.
Zach, did you find your little thing?
Okay, yes. Since this is an 80s metal podcast, I want to bring up the B-52s.
Makes sense.
Perfect.
Since we're talking about bands that survived the death of members, so I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know much about this song. So they got big off of Rock Lobster. Can you verify that, Christian?
Yeah,
I mean, I know that was a big song for them, but I actually thought Love Shack was
Yeah.
a bigger
Yeah.
song.
Well, yes, but so Ricky Wilson on guitar dies, and then Keith Strickland takes over, and then in 1989 they came out with Love Shack.
Oh.
So they got bigger afterwards. So I guess they
Oh, so
succeeded.
the original guy wrote the dum 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 dum. He's the guy that
That's
wrote that
Rock
line.
Lobster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude!
So wait a
How
minute.
did
So you're
they?
reading these fun facts about it, and you don't even
You
know
don't
the song?
even know stuff.
Whoa!
Good research,
Time out
bro.
on the playing field. I just did that one because I thought it was funny. Because it's
Oh,
not
okay.
80s metal. But I do love Love Shack. And at the end, are they saying funkin' in the shack? Funkin' in the shack. What are they saying right there?
I don't
I
know.
believe it's Funky Little Shack.
I thought it was funkin' in the shack.
No, it's not
research.
Funkin' in the Shack. I think it's Funky Little Shack.
Funky little shack.
I don't
But
know.
I could be wrong.
We have the internet. We can look it up.
Okay. Anyway, did we mention Queen? Hello, one of the most
Yeah,
important.
Queen,
Yeah,
kind of a big one.
that's
Hey.
a big one.
We talked about this before. I love Adam Lambert. I think he's doing a great job. He doesn't claim to be Freddie. He's doing
Agreed.
his own thing,
Yep.
and he rocks his balls off. So
I saw that. I saw the couple tours ago with Adam Lambert, and it was incredible, man. You're right. He's very humble and very grateful and loving towards Freddie Mercury, and he sings his ass off, man. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible to watch.
absolutely. I had Red Hot Chili Peppers down. and the Rolling Stones, and we talked about everyone else. I just wanted to make sure everybody got their whoop little bloop.
Well, to steer it back to a comment question, where did it go? Oh, dang it. First off, does anybody know how to play Eruption?
I've played it once or twice in my life.
I feel like such a tool. I'm not playing it. Yes, I know how to play it.
But apparently the lyric is a funky little shack.
Ding 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 ding.
You got me wrong.
Another one.
You beat me, Christian.
To Christian, and this is one that I've always been curious about for people in a well-known band and doing other things. How do you separate writing solo music that has your own distinct sound while also being in a band that has a distinct sound to it?
That's a good question, actually. I think it's just a matter of putting the right hat on, honestly, man. Like when I sit down to write anything that I feel would be hell yeah, there's a certain sound that, and I don't want to say that we, every record that we've done, we try to, at least since I've been in the band, we try to do some different stuff, and we try different things. We don't want to make the same record we made the last time.
Right.
We want to explore different areas, but there's always a sound to hell yeah. You know what I mean? And a lot of that was Vinnie too, again.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of the members being who they are and knowing, just kind of knowing what hell yeah does, you know what I mean? And Tom is a big driving force behind that too, man. Tom Maxwell is a beast, and straight up one of the best right hands in the game, man. Like he's a James Hetfield kind of rhythm player, man, and he's got a great right hand. He's a great player and a great writer. He comes up with great riffs, and I think anytime you're writing, you just kind of have a focus of what it is that sound is. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes total sense.
Whereas if you're going to do something on your own and want it to be different, then you kind of it's kind of no holds barred at that point. You kind of just whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You kind of have an open palette and a blank canvas, if you will, and you can just whatever you want to write. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be anything. You do whatever you want. But for hell yeah, it's going to be kind of along this vein.
That makes perfect sense to me. I've never been in a band where I'm doing several things at once. It's always, if I'm in the band, that's it. That's pretty much all I focus on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've never had to separate out. I've never been in multiple projects at once.
Most of the writing recently for me, and I'm talking pre-COVID when we were still doing hell yeah, everybody was still able to do what they do,
mm-hmm.
was geared towards hell yeah, because I didn't really have a lot of side projects going as far as original stuff. I would maybe write on, maybe do some stuff on something else for somebody, or do some session work or whatnot, but it was never writing full songs for anybody either. Like most of that was reserved. Any writing I would do would be for hell yeah, and what we did as a band, so now of course there's more of that going on because, well, hell yeah is not doing anything right now, and we're all stuck in this limbo of whatever this quote unquote new normal is that people keep talking about. So I don't even know what that means anymore, but
concerts and bubbles, baby.
Man, I hope we can find our way back to some concerts soon, man. I know everybody's missing that. Me too, man. I always loved going to shows still and seeing bands play, and it's nothing like live music, man. So it's been tough.
I've seen several. A lot of bands are doing like big arena shows, and then there's like there's sectioned off. Have you seen that with like
The socially
rent a square.
distanced. Yeah, the socially distanced ones. Yeah.
Well, and then Steel Panther is playing in Austin in a couple of days, and it's a tailgate tour. So you pay for a parking spot and you sit on top of your truck and have your cooler.
Do you want to do that?
That's not Texas. I don't know. Oh, I'm going.
Hey, I'll go with you.
Dude, is that not like Texas as it gets?
Yep.
It's great. That's great.
Tailgate and concert, and Steel Panther is going to they're gonna make lots of cracks at that. I'm looking forward to it.
Those guys are awesome, man. I love those guys.
I look forward to it, man, and I look forward to you coming out here, Christian. I want to show you. I want to show you Texas. I want to show you Nashville, and I want to come hang in Vegas again because I miss Vegas dearly.
For sure, man. And you know, I anytime I've ever been to Austin in the past, I always loved Austin and anywhere in Texas really, and I love Nashville too. So I definitely need to get out there and spend some time again and hang.
Well, guess what? You got a friend in all them places.
Right on, man.
I'll bring you on Zach's Kitchen. Christian, thank you so much for being a part of this with us today. This was an absolute pleasure, an honor, a blast. I love you, man. And I hope that you'll come hang with us again one day.
Anytime, man. The pleasure was all mine. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, fellas. It was great to chat with y'all.
Love it. For all you watching, thank you so much for tuning in. And God bless you. Stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And we'll see you next week. TJ?
Thanks for watching, guys. Christian, thanks for joining. Be excellent to each other, as always. Love y'all. Comment, like, subscribe. You know the fun stuff. And Robin, over to you.
Oh, man, this has been a really, really fun episode. I loved this one. Christian, thank you so much for coming in. And we really want to have you again. And for everybody that tuned in, thank you for tuning in. And we will see you next week. And for those of you wondering, yes, that is a fully automatic Nerf gun in the corner. And we will see you next time. Class dismissed.
Are we done? Nice. Chris.